Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trigology, where we dive into thought provoking topics that start conversation. In my last video, I shared with you the reasons why I can never be a Democrat based on history and how they are manipulating the black community. And today, like I promised, I'm going to share with you the reason why I cannot be a Republican either. I've divided this video into 6 contentious points: role of the government, economic policies, healthcare, social issues, climate change, and 6, the biggest of them all, ladies and gentlemen, immigration. If you're into it, let's get into it. Number 1, role of government. Democrats generally advocate for a more active role of government in addressing social and economic issues in form of government assistance programs, which if you've been following me, you already know that I'm very much against that. It's an incentive to laziness, like I always said. Meanwhile, the Republicans often emphasize limited government and a focus on individual responsibility. Take your life into your own hands. Take action. And I believe that's the way it should be. Think of it this way. How about I teach you how to use all of the ingredients at your disposal to cook for yourself instead of me feeding you every time you say that you're hungry? What will you do when I'm not around? You'll probably die of hunger. Area of contention number 2, economic policies. Democrats tend to support quote unquote progressive taxation, social safety net, and government regulation to address economic inequality. In other words, they want high taxation, keep spending in government assistance programs and regulations of others' wealth. Meanwhile, Republicans typically favor lower taxes, reduced regulation, and free market principles to stimulate economic growth. And again, that's how I believe it should be. Now, number 3, healthcare. Democrats support expanding access to healthcare through government programs, while Republicans may prefer market-driven approaches, emphasizing competition and reducing government involvement in healthcare. Here again, I'm aligned with the Republicans, but there's a catch. You cannot touch the healthcare program by itself. It would be catastrophic to the people. Remember, these people are only getting by with the help of food stamp and low-income housing, etc. Every other sort of government assistance has to be reduced first. Make sense? Now it's the moment to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts, you can click in the link in the description below to support. Okay. This one is causing a war between the people and getting people canceled left and right. And that's number 4, social issues. Yes. Democrats tends to be more, quote unquote, progressive on social issues. They are obsessed with things like LGBTQ rights, which I believe 99% of it is a social contagion. Abortion rights. Listen, I believe no one should tell you what to do with your body, but I want you to acknowledge the fact that by having an abortion, you're killing a baby, which is murder. Why do you think a criminal who kills a pregnant woman will be charged with double homicide? It's because that person killed 2 people. Let that sink in. And don't even get me started on the Democratic criminal justice reform. They call themselves progressive. I call them destructive. Republicans, on the other hand, often align with conservative values on those issues, which happens to be where I also stand. I know what you're thinking. This guy gotta be a MAGA Republican after what you've heard so far, but I can assure you, I'm not. And you're about to know why once I get on number 6, Now, number 5, climate change. Democrats often advocate for environmental regulation and efforts to combat climate change. And Republicans, on the other hand, may have a range of views on this issue. Me personally, I believe no man can change what God has planned. Whether a person believes in global warming or not, the Bible does tell us that the world will be destroyed by fire in 2 Peter 3, 7 to 10. Logically, this would mean that the earth will continue to get hotter and hotter until the destruction of the planet, or maybe it will happen suddenly. We don't know. The Bible tells us that the destruction of the world is going to be within God's plan. God will destroy the present earth because he's going to make a new heaven and a new earth. That's Revelation 21, 1 to 5. The present earth we are standing on today will not exist forever. If anything, I see climate change or global warming as a sign of what the Bible says is to come. The complete destruction of the planet Earth will happen after the rapture of the church and the Great Tribulation, the second coming of Christ. So, no, I'm not bothered by climate change. And now, the moment that you've been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, number 6, immigration. This is where I'm more aligned with the Democratic Party. The Democrats often support immigration reform, including a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. Even though it's a political move, we all seen how panicked and unhappy they are when they receive immigrants from Texas and Florida. I'm not advocating to leave your border wide open. It's called a secret border for a reason. But Republicans want you to believe that they support more moderate and comprehensive approaches, which could not be any further from the truth. I believe they want to make it nearly impossible for people to come to the U.S., especially the third world countries. They want you to be documented, but won't give you the document, which is a visa in most cases. Most people trying to come here are people who are desperate for a better life. They want to find a way to help the ones left behind. I'm an immigrant. I was fortunate enough to get a visa back in the days. I would never stop anyone from trying to escape a nightmare by trying to come to the U.S. and finally be able to dream. This right here is the main reason why, as of right now, I can't be a Republican, despite of our so many common grounds. But no, I cannot. Well, heck, let me educate those that don't know what I'm about to say. When people say that this country was built by immigrants, they rarely realize that from the very beginnings, America's system of government depended on those who came from somewhere else. Did you know that 7 of the 39 men who signed on the Constitution were immigrants? In fact, 2 of the 3 men most associated with its passage, Alexander Hamilton and James Wilson. One of the 3 men who wrote the Federalist Papers explaining the Constitution was born abroad. When George Washington chose justices of the Supreme Court to interpret the Constitution, 3 of his choices were immigrants: James Wilson, James Iredell, and William Patterson made up the immigrant third of the original of the Supreme Court. 4 of the first 6 secretaries of Treasury were immigrants, 1 each from Switzerland and Scotland, and 2 were from the West Indies. President Washington appointed a Irish immigrant, James McHenry, as Secretary of War in 1796. Of the 81 congressmen in the first Congress, 8 were immigrants. Immigrants were among the most important writers of the founding generation, crafting America's ideas of democracy and freedom. The most famous of all, Tom Paine. He came from England when civil liberties were threatened during John Adams' administration. Irish born editor of the Philadelphia Aurora, William Duane, he risked arrest to take on the president. Vermont Congressman Matthew Lyon, also an Irish immigrant, was jailed under the Alien of Sedition Act. And he became the only congressman to be reelected while in jail. Listen, the blood of immigrants is running through America's vein. This is all I had for you guys. And let me know in the comment what you think. Share your thought with me. As always, thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.